We live in a time of change. A changing climate, a deteriorating environment, and a neoliberal housing market put our comfort at risk, even in our own homes. In an unpredictable context, with uncountable moving parts, we must envisage housing that is resilient and adaptable to change in order to bring comfort back to the dweller. A comfortable home is an adaptable home, and an adaptable home is a sustainable one. These relationships are mutually reinforcing and form the basis of our manifesto. We propose a strategy of long life, loose fit. To give a home a long life and make the most of its upfront carbon cost, its spaces must be loose fit, enabling its functional and material lifespans to align. These spaces must be flexible and non-prescribed. In the current climate crisis, it's important to design for the long term. We propose that all dwellings are dual aspect for better ventilation and daylighting. Generous private outdoor space will also be standard, both for physical and mental well-being, as we've learned throughout the recent COVID pandemic, and as a buffer for future climate resilience. We see the home as a stage for inhabitation. Flexibility means that our homes can accommodate and empower a range of cultures and lifestyles, allowing dwellers to develop and maintain feelings of identity and ownership within and across our proposal. Elements throughout our scheme will foster and maintain a positive community, ensuring that this sense of identity and ownership extends beyond the confines of the individual dwelling. These points play key roles in our agenda, from the home to the neighbourhood, and our scheme's propositional location in the New Canada Water Master Plan.
We have put users at the centre of our design process. After all, what else is housing for? Our research began with a series of ethnographic studies, the aim being to understand what comprises comfort within a home. A focus group was assembled, and through a series of interviews we established that feelings and emotions play a large part in a comfortable home. In parallel, we contextualised these conversations with further research. A series of RIBA reports corroborated issues raised about the adaptability and longevity of homes, whilst visits to the Museum of the Home highlighted the importance of objects in domestic life. These are the primary means through which residents can personalise space, manifest their identities and take control of their home. This research allowed us to further understand and interrogate the key elements that our focus group identified a home should provide or facilitate, and pair these with accepted definitions of thermal and physical comfort to create a matrix of comfort. We used our matrix of comfort to explore the relationships between these elements in various ways and unpick their roles within the home. Most importantly, we identified what can be concretely provided by a house and what is contributed by a dweller to turn a house into home. Our user-centered design process means that we have designed from the inside out. We start with the process of creating a house that can bring to fruition a comfortable home. Today's mass housing provides specific spaces for non-specific people. These rooms have developed throughout time as life has become compartmentalised, with a typical London flat now being made of these prescribed rooms, as set by the London Housing Design Guide. We set out to challenge and deconstruct these normative rooms of the modern British home. People define their spaces through objects and the rituals that are born from these. Our proposed looseness of space enables dwellers to define spaces through permutations of these rituals, rather than being constrained by named rooms. Current housing standards also ignore the rich variation of lifestyles that we see across cultures. Reflecting on our focus group interviews, we considered how different communities in multicultural London inhabit homes. Shown here is a series of studies examining ideal homes from some of the cultures in our city. In summary, a flat can be reorganised in this way, based on groupings of activities and rituals within the home.
From here, we began our design development, formed from a series of key phases. Our initial design response explored how grouping services, storage, and utilities together can maximise the flexibility of non-prescribed spaces on either side, which were formed by a system of measured bays. The second iteration moved away from this system, but still relied on users building their own partitions. Whilst this maximises initial flexibility, it disregards future comfort. Ultimately, this did not fit our strategy of long life loose fit, and a more nuanced approach balancing specificity and non-specificity had to be pursued. Phase 3 looked to counteract this issue by introducing fixed walls. While the resulting rooms were still functionally non-prescribed, we had fallen into prescribing fixed areas, significantly reducing the spaces that someone could have in their home. Phase 4 reintroduced the notion of a naked house, this time on a gridded system. This, however, still didn't address the core issues of domestic comfort. Through these phases, we realised that people seek flexible space rather than a flexible system, something that allows them to easily change their living arrangements without having to erect, demolish, or alter the building fabric. Our final plans strike a balance between specificity and non-specificity, between comfort and adaptability. Through the removal of programmatic prescription, the provision of varying room sizes, and polyvalent relationships between these rooms, we create plan types that truly act as stages for inhabitation, able to host a range of cultures and lifestyles. Within our final plans, we explored the hierarchy and commutability of space through a spread of room sizes. These rooms can be combined in response to lifestyle choices. Here, a series of living spaces can be combined in multiple ways. Large double doors are utilised between the principal spaces, enabling users to establish their own ratios of continuity and compartmentalisation. In addition, we examined the lines of sight and movement through the homes. These can enable a sense of spatial progression, much like the conditions found in the paintings of Felix Vallotton or in the bourgeois housing of Barcelona and Paris. Much like our original diagram, utilities, services and storage gravitate around the centre of the dwelling. 2 front doors and large openable elements onto the terraces offer users a more flexible and comfortable relationship with the immediate outdoor spaces, as well as providing the potential for incorporating home-run businesses, particularly in the larger flats. All of these flats were rigorously tested to examine and assess these design decisions across all sizes. All homes are dual aspect, providing ample natural light and effective cross-ventilation. Deep window reveals shade homes on the east and west facades, whilst retractable awnings are used on south-facing facades. This creates an interactive facade. Occupants can adjust the shading based on their own comfort. Our proposed homes encompass both our research and our manifesto points: long life, loose fit, and a stage for inhabitation.
Moving out of the dwelling and into the neighbourhoods, the front doors crank to form sheltered shared porch spaces between pairs of neighbours. Further down the shared deck, the courts act as another extension of the residents' domestic environment by providing communal spaces on every other floor. The courts respond to a metric of people per core, limiting this number in order to foster tight-knit communities, empowering a sense of ownership and pride over shared spaces. The deck axis follows the block perimeter, but flips between sitting in the courtyard and spanning outside based on orientation, reserving the most comfortable position for the more private terraces. And so we reach a floor plan formed from the inside out. Flat layouts flip on each floor, staggering the terraces and increasing the daylight penetration into the dwellings. This also provides each terrace with a double-heighted area. At podium level, we find a lush planted courtyard that leads via a gentle winding ramp down to street level. As with the homes, the shared courtyard has been designed from the inside and out, with the users and their domestic outdoor rituals as the focus. Visiting our earlier interviews, we understood that a safe, open and varying green space would be the most responsive to people's needs. This includes the provision of overlooked spaces for children, allotments and a creation of non-prescribed, topographical varying areas, adoptable and adaptable by all residents. On-floor entrances also incorporate communal spaces. A domestic environment is formed right from the collective front door. Mix of community and retail spaces will be provided at street level, with community spaces being prioritised along the north facade facing the new town centre. Along the thoroughfare from Surrey Quay Station, a mix of retail and community spaces will be allocated.
As a proof of concept, this building embodies our key manifesto points throughout. It forms a modest urban block that addresses the fundamentals of how to create a comfortable home. Dynamic communal spaces, responsive to the needs of residents, foster a positive community within the block. Long-life, loose-fit flats can respond to a changing climate with true dual aspect and act as stages for inhabitation through their flexible, non-prescript nature. Their functional and environmental resilience empowers a range of cultures and lifestyles. Ultimately, the scheme forms a new agenda for housing with comfort at its core, able to adapt to maintain this comfort into the future.